severe. It can be marks on the head where the crown of thorns were placed. It can be some of these, one or two of these, or it could be all of those marks can manifest. Sometimes they can manifest constantly, as a case with Padre Pio for some 50 years. And other times they may come and go on certain days of the week or certain times, like after attending Mass. And it does vary quite a bit.
Now, so the stigmata, to those who had the gift, was it usually on like holy days that they would get this?
It could be. Some of them received it on Thursdays or Thursday afternoons, and it went away on Friday. Some of them were manifested after receiving communion, while others had it all the time, some of them for years.
Yeah, how could they suffer? And I understand that they suffered tremendously. How could they suffer for so many years?
Yes, they do. Virtually all the reports of stigmata include great pain. Some report that the pain came on gradually first before the marks appeared. The ones that have the marks go away and come back report that the pain increases until the wounds open and then subside somewhat. There are some that report having the pains of stigmata and not showing any outward signs of it, while there are others who ask not to show the outward signs after they appeared and were left with only the pain.
And oh, really? Now, is that like an invisible stigmata when they have the pain without the visibility for people to witness?
Yes, that it would be referred to as an invisible stigmatic. The reasoning behind stigmata can be kind of confusing to some people because, as the Church points out, that there has to be an intent and will behind it to share in the sufferings of Christ on behalf of the world, and to desire to be that intimate and close with Christ, to share in his suffering. Otherwise, just desiring the marks themselves to appear or just granting those to anybody would not happen, because the person would receive a lot of attention and would manifest outward signs, and that could lead to pride.
Does stigmata ever come with possession cases?
Not that I've ever heard of. I have never heard of a stigmatic becoming possessed, while we also know that the closer you get to God, the harder the devil works against you. So it isn't. We don't consider stigmata something evil. It's something that is granted by Christ. However, there are also possession cases that I have studied that there have been physical markings on the body, but they're usually not in the same places as stigmatics.
Really? Why is that?
Well, usually the demon inspire others toward faith.
Now, when these stigmatics bleed, now is that their blood, or is it supposed to be a secondary blood, like the blood from Christ?
Usually, it is a secondary blood. It's usually not physically the stigmatic's blood. Of course, it's like in the case with Padre Pio. He had it for some 50 years, and a person can't physically bleed that much for 50 years. So there is most certainly something supernatural there. Yeah. But what's also fascinating with most stigmata cases is the blood is usually fresh. It doesn't often congeal, at least not to the same extent as a normal wound would, even after it were to get on clothing or other material or dry on the body. It's usually fresh, and many reports have said that it has a sweet smell, almost like roses, which is usually associated with holiness, and something that we also hear a lot of on possession cases. Usually, following an exorcism, there's a overwhelming sweet smell or smell of roses as well.
Is that right? Now these wounds, when the stigmatic gets these wounds, they never heal? How is that?
Well, it would be they are considered a miracle, and it's not something that can be scientifically explained. Sometimes the wounds will open and close on their own, or sometimes they never close. And it has been noted by many physicians over the years on these cases that they never get an infection in the wounds either.
Right, they never get infected. Now that's a miracle in itself. Now, I understand that mostly women are stigmatics.
Yes, that is the case. I think it's something like 1 out of every 6 or 7 cases were women that have been documented and considered legitimate cases of stigmata.
Why do you think it's more in women than in men?
That's not something that anybody really has a concrete idea on. That is a mystery at this point. It's also something that has seemed to take a course of change over the past 100 years or so. I think that the cases of stigmata in men are increasing.
They are? Really?
Years.
Okay, so in modern times now, if they show stigmata, are they taking any DNA samples of the blood to make sure it really isn't coming from the person?
There have been at least 2 cases that I know of that has been done. And in one case, it did appear to be identical to the person's blood, and in the other case, it happened to be type O negative, which is really interesting because the same blood type was found on the Shroud of Turin, which is a relic believed to be the burial cloth of Christ.
So how does the church verify that they really do have the stigmata?
Many methods have been used in the past. Everything from observing the person for days at a time to creating devices. I think in the early 1900s there was a copper shoe that was placed over the foot of the stigmatic. Where the wound appears, there was a window so that it couldn't be tampered with or altered in any way.
Really? Now also some in the hands and feet, they can also get like it looks like an actual like nail in their hands. How does that occur?
That is also something that is a mystery. It's not something that we can explain. It hasn't occurred, to my knowledge, in the past couple hundred years, in any cases of stigmata. So it hasn't been something that has been studied with modern science as of yet.
Now, most of these cases, aren't they primarily associated with Roman Catholic faith?
They are. There have been some reports of 3 or 4 cases throughout the years that have been, and others that are not Roman Catholic. And of course, the first case that was documented was St. Francis. But some Bible scholars also argue that the first case was actually St. Paul, the apostle.
Yes, I heard that. Now, in St. Francis's case, according to what I've read, that he was they're saying that he was the first recorded case. But now, what kind of visions do they get? Like his vision was a 6-winged angel on the cross. What is typical of a vision that the stigmatics get?
It can vary. Visions usually are granted to a person in response to a need in the world at that time. So usually they are tailored to something that that's happening or is going to happen that will test the faith of the world. And usually those cases are used to strengthen people's faith.
Oh, I see.
So a number of other things other than visions are also very fascinating with stigmata. Usually they'll accompany some other miracle. There have been reported cases of people living for years upon years fasting, not eating anything except for partaking of the Eucharist. There have been cases where people receive visions, cases where people have, after receiving stigmata and passing away, have had what we call incorrupt bodies, where the body doesn't decompose.
That's Padre.
Many different miracles associated with that.
Now, that's Padre Pio. Isn't he one of those? His body's in a perfect state?
I know St. John Vianney is the last, to my knowledge. I'm not sure if St. Pio has been, that has been verified yet or not.
Okay. Now, in the instance of Therese Newman, I understand that she, from 1922 until 1962, she was one of those cases that had no food, no solid food or liquid or water, all those years until her death in 1962, except for the Holy Sacrament. Now how could somebody exist like that? How could, and they, now some lost weight, but then others it didn't affect them. How could that be? I guess that's really part of the miracle.
It really is. It is a fascinating miracle that defies all logic and science, and the only explanation can be that it is supernatural.
Oh, supernatural? Interesting. I know you have to run off because you have Mass to serve up Mass.
We have night prayer at 10 o'clock.
At 10 o'clock, right. I think you wanted to leave me in about 1 minute, right?
Yes, it'll take me about 10 minutes to get there.
I know. Thank you so much for coming on the show with me. And I've posted on here. I've posted your name, your two websites, Father David Price. And thank you so much for joining me. It was a real pleasure. I hope to have you on again.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. Good night.
Good night.
Okay, everyone. That's on it for Stigmata. For those of you who are